That night, Han's fingers slid slowly down my body, a sensual dance between passion and desire. Her naked skin pressed against mine, her breath hot and heavy, punctuated by ragged, breathless moans. Each curve of her body undulated like a dangerous dance, every touch of skin a whispered lie. I am Quan, 35 years old, a successful investment manager living in a luxurious penthouse in central Hanoi. My life was once considered perfect. A beautiful wife, a peak career, and a relationship everyone envied. Han, the woman lying next to me, was the embodiment of seduction. Long hair spread across the pillow, deep eyes hiding unfathomable secrets, and a smile that always concealed something sinister. I had been madly in love with her from the first moment we met, completely blind to the conspiracies waiting ahead. That morning, amid the afterglow of an intense night, I received an email. 5 short lines were enough to tear apart every illusion. She is not who you think she is. Han is hiding an earth-shattering secret, and the woman she's been intimate with is your own mother. Cold sweat ran down my spine. I looked at Han sleeping beside me. Her smooth white skin, seductive curves, a perfect painting of allure. But now, everything seemed distorted and dirty. My hand trembled slightly as I opened the email. The sender's address was hidden, the content brief but haunting. Attached evidence, secretly taken photos, blurry messages were enough to make me dizzy. Han, the wife I loved, was involved in a secret relationship, not with another man, but with my own mother. I knew this game would be a merciless battle, and I would have to expose the entire truth, even if it cost me my life. My story begins here, a journey of betrayal, passion, and destruction. The first time I met Han was at a corporate event 5 years ago. She was a brilliant lawyer, sharp-minded and stunningly beautiful. Her confidence radiated across the room, drawing everyone's attention. I was immediately captivated, not just by her physical beauty, but by her intelligence and mysterious aura. Our courtship was quick and intense. Within 6 months, we were married. My family adored her, especially my mother, who saw Han as the perfect daughter-in-law. She was successful, elegant, and seemed to fit perfectly into our family's high society image. But perfection, I was learning, was often just an elaborate mask. The email sender had attached several compromising photographs. Blurry images showed intimate moments between Han and my mother, touches that went far beyond a typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. Explicit text messages revealed a depth of intimacy that made my stomach churn. How long had this been going on? How many years of lies had I been living? My mind raced with questions, each more disturbing than the last. The images burned into my memory, my wife and my mother, entangled in a web of forbidden desire. I looked at Han again. She was still sleeping, her breathing steady, completely unaware that her carefully constructed world was about to collapse. Who sent this email? What was their motivation? These questions swirled in my mind, creating a tornado of confusion and rage. One thing was certain. I would uncover every single truth, no matter the cost. The game of deception was about to change, and I would be the one controlling its rules. My journey of revelation was just beginning. The next few hours passed in a blur of controlled chaos. I moved methodically, gathering evidence, making mental notes. Han remained asleep, oblivious to the storm brewing around her. My first call was to a private investigator I had used occasionally for corporate background checks. Michael Tran was discreet, ruthless, and had connections that stretched across multiple networks. When I explained the situation, his response was clinical and professional. "I'll need access to her phone, her computer, her personal documents," he said. "Are you prepared for what we might find?" I was beyond preparation. I was a man possessed. The digital trail was more complex than I initially imagined. Han was meticulous, using encrypted messaging apps, burner phones, and sophisticated privacy settings. But everyone leaves a trace, and Michael was an expert at finding those traces. Within 48 hours, he had compiled a dossier that would shatter our entire family's reputation. The relationship between Han and my mother wasn't a recent affair. It had been ongoing for almost 3 years. They had met secretly in hotels across Hanoi, in vacation homes, during family gatherings where I was just meters away, completely unaware. My mother, Mein Nguyen, was a respected socialite. At 58, she maintained a powerful presence in Hanoi's elite circles. Married to my father for over 30 years, she was known for her charity work and impeccable reputation. The idea that she was involved in such a scandalous relationship seemed impossible. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Text messages revealed a passionate, complex relationship. They spoke of love, of desire that transcended conventional boundaries. Graphic descriptions of their intimate moments were interspersed with discussions about family, about me, about maintaining their elaborate facade. "We can't continue like this forever." One message from my mother read, "Quan will discover everything soon." Han's response was chilling in its calm calculation. "We've been careful. He suspects nothing." I felt a rage building inside me, a controlled fury that threatened to consume everything in its path. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a calculated destruction of everything I believed in. My next move was strategic. I would gather more evidence, create a comprehensive case that would leave no room for denial or manipulation. Michael suggested installing tracking devices, monitoring their communication channels, creating a comprehensive profile of their relationship. Each piece of information would be a weapon in my arsenal. "Be careful," he warned. "People like your wife and mother are dangerous when cornered. They won't hesitate to destroy you to protect their secrets." His words resonated. I knew the stakes were high. This wasn't just about exposing an affair. This was about maintaining power, protecting reputations, controlling narratives. As dawn broke, Han finally stirred. Her morning routine was meticulously planned. Yoga, a green smoothie, checking emails on her personal device. I watched her, seeing her now not as my wife, but as a calculated predator. "Good morning," I said, my voice neutral. She smiled, that same seductive smile that had once captivated me. "You're up early." Little did she know that her world was about to collapse. The game had changed, and I was no longer a passive player. My plan was taking shape, a precise, calculated strategy to expose their relationship and destroy everything they had built. Every movement would be carefully orchestrated, every piece of evidence meticulously collected. Revenge, I was learning, was not just an emotion. It was an art form, and I was about to become its master. The next week was a masterclass in psychological warfare. I maintained a facade of normalcy, watching Han's every move with calculated precision. Each interaction was a carefully choreographed dance of deception. My mother was scheduled to attend a charity gala that weekend. It was the perfect opportunity to set my plan in motion. Michael had provided me with a comprehensive dossier. Hidden cameras, GPS tracking, intercepted communications, a mosaic of betrayal that painted a horrifying picture of intimacy between my wife and my mother. "They meet most frequently at the Emerald Resort," Michael explained, sliding a folder across the table, "typically during family gatherings or charity events. They've been extraordinarily careful. The photographs were damning. Stolen moments of intimate touches, passionate embraces hidden behind the veneer of familial affection. Encrypted messages revealed a relationship far more complex than a simple affair." My strategy was multi-layered. I would expose them publicly, but not immediately. First, I needed to understand the full extent of their betrayal. The night of the charity gala arrived. Han wore a stunning emerald green dress, a color that now felt like a mockery. My mother was resplendent in a black designer gown, the picture of sophistication. I watched them from across the room, seeing now the subtle interactions I had missed before. A lingering touch, a meaningful glance, a silent language of intimacy that had existed right under my nose. "You seem distracted," Han whispered as we danced. Her hand rested on my waist, a touch that now felt like a violation. "Just thinking about work," I lied smoothly. The ballroom was a theater of high society, politicians, business leaders, social elites. None of them knew the toxic secret brewing beneath the surface of perfection. My plan required patience. I would collect more evidence, create an ironclad case that would destroy them completely. Michael had discovered something else, financial transactions that suggested this wasn't just an emotional affair. Significant sums of money had been transferred between anonymous accounts. Blackmail? A deeper conspiracy? Each revelation added another layer of complexity to the story. By midnight, I had captured everything. Photographs of stolen moments, intercepted messages, financial records that hinted at a deeper manipulation. My phone was a weapon, each screenshot a potential nuclear option. As we drove home, Han seemed unusually quiet. Did she sense the storm approaching? "Are you okay?" she asked. I smiled. The perfect mask of a loving husband. "Never better," I responded. The next morning, I began my strategic dismantling. A carefully crafted email to my father, attachments that would shatter our family's perfect image, anonymous tips to local media contacts. Each move calculated, each action designed to maximize destruction. My mother and Han had played a dangerous game. They believed they were untouchable. They were wrong. The first cracks appeared quickly. My father called, his voice a mixture of shock and rage. The first whispers of scandal began circulating in Hanoi's elite circles. "How long?" he demanded. I remained clinical, providing evidence without emotion. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about exposure, about bringing truth to light. Han began to sense the walls closing in. Her perfect composure started to crack. Frantic phone calls, desperate attempts to control the narrative. But the machine of exposure was already in motion. By week's end, their carefully constructed world would crumble. Reputations would be destroyed. Secrets would become public spectacle. I felt no satisfaction, only a cold, calculated sense of justice. The game was far from over, and I was just getting started. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within 48 hours, the story exploded across Hanoi's social landscape. Encrypted messages, photographs, financial records, a comprehensive dossier of betrayal that left no room for denial. My father was the first to completely unravel. A prominent businessman with a reputation built on traditional family values. The revelation destroyed everything he had constructed over decades. Press conferences became battlegrounds. Family gatherings turned into interrogations. "How could you?" he screamed at my mother during a private confrontation I secretly recorded. "Decades of marriage, and you choose to betray me with my own daughter-in-law." My mother's response was calculated, cold. "Love doesn't follow your rules, men. It never has." Han's law firm began distancing themselves immediately. Professional networks collapsed. Social connections evaporated. She went from being a celebrated corporate lawyer to a social pariah overnight. Michael, my private investigator, continued digging. Each layer revealed more complexity. "There's something deeper here," he warned me. "This isn't just an affair. There are financial transactions, offshore accounts, connections that go beyond personal betrayal." The first major breakthrough came unexpectedly. An anonymous source, someone within my mother's inner circle, provided additional evidence suggesting the relationship wasn't just personal. There were business implications, potential corporate espionage. My mother and Han had been systematically manipulating investment portfolios, using their intimate connection to insider trade. What seemed like a personal betrayal was actually a sophisticated financial scheme. "They've been playing a long game," Michael explained, spreading documents across my penthouse office. "Your millions had been moved through intricate offshore networks. Shell companies, cryptocurrency transactions, carefully laundered money trails. My father's business empire began to crumble. Investors pulled out, sensing the scandal. Stock prices dropped. What had been a multi-generational corporate legacy was now disintegrating. Han attempted to contact me multiple times. Desperate messages, pleading calls. I remained cold, calculated. "You created this," I told her during our final confrontation. "You chose this path." Her desperation was palpable. "You don't understand the whole story," she insisted. "There are things you don't know." But I was beyond understanding, beyond mercy. The media circus was relentless. National newspapers, social media platforms, television networks. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. A high-profile family's spectacular implosion became public entertainment. My strategy was precise. Each revelation was carefully timed, each piece of evidence strategically released. By the end of the month, my mother faced potential criminal charges: insider trading, financial fraud, corporate manipulation. The legal machinery was grinding into motion. Han's law license was suspended. Her professional reputation destroyed beyond repair. My father, broken and humiliated, retreated from public life. The once powerful family patriarch was now a shadow of himself. "What do you want?" he asked me during one of our final meetings. My response was simple: justice. But justice, I was learning, was a complex concept. Each revelation brought more questions. Each exposed secret created new mysteries. Why had they done this? What deeper motivations existed beyond the surface-level betrayal? Michael continued investigating. "There are connections we haven't fully understood," he kept repeating. "This goes deeper than a simple affair." As the year ended, our family was unrecognizable, destroyed, scattered. I stood alone in my penthouse, watching the Hanoi skyline. The city continued its relentless rhythm, indifferent to the personal apocalypse I had orchestrated. The game was over, but something told me this was just the beginning. Content warning: adult themes and mature content. 1 year later, everything had changed completely. My family had disintegrated like a broken mirror, each shard reflecting painful hidden angles. My father had withdrawn from business, living in isolation and shame. My mother was awaiting trial for corruption and financial fraud charges. She had lost everything, disbarred from legal practice, becoming a shadow of herself. But something still remained hidden. Michael, my private investigator, continued exploring deeper secrets. "Something isn't right," he said in our final meeting. "These financial transactions, they're too complex to be a simple affair." I realized I had only seen the tip of the iceberg. The truth lay deep beneath carefully arranged layers of secrecy. One winter afternoon, an unmarked envelope arrived at my office. Inside were classified documents revealing that my mother and Han's relationship ran deeper than I'd ever imagined. They weren't just lovers. They were co-conspirators. The documents exposed a complex business conspiracy: secret deals, meticulously coordinated investments, a hidden network of power extending beyond a simple family boundary. Han wasn't just a lawyer. She was an agent, strategically planted in my family with a specific purpose. And my mother? She wasn't just a victim or an accomplice. She was a central figure in a much larger power game. Michael had traced the money flows. Transfers were sophisticatedly disguised, passing through multiple countries, washing away traces like underground rivers. "They're hiding something," he said, "a secret much larger than an illicit relationship." I began connecting the dots. Each small detail was part of a larger picture, a conspiracy intricately woven with complex interconnected threads. Finally, I understood. This wasn't a love story. This was a power play, and I had only just begun uncovering the truth. An unexpected call came from an anonymous source, a distorted, disguised voice. "You don't know the whole truth," the caller said. "What you think is betrayal is just the surface of something much larger." I closed my eyes. The Hanoi city outside my window continued its relentless rhythm. Crowded streets, towering buildings, all serving as a backdrop for a mysterious story waiting to be revealed. This battle wasn't over. It had just begun, and I would be the one to uncover the ultimate truth, no matter the cost.